Social Security, SSDI, SI, and low-income households could see big changes coming to their monthly benefit checks. Democrats and Republicans are becoming worried about the future of Social Security as inflation and the cost of living continues to rise. Negotiations are beginning on whether a monthly benefit increase will be passed this year. So here's some big news, everybody, about the fourth stimulus check. A new bill has officially been proposed in Congress, and the proposed legislation, which has around 268 co-sponsors from both parties in the House of Representatives, would actually make Social Security less fair and would jeopardize the retirement security of those who have yet to retire. The proposal would do so by eliminating the windfall elimination provision in the government pension offset rules of Social Security. Without these provisions, Social Security would steer high levels of benefits to people who freely chose to opt out of Social Security. According to the SSA, the proposed law would cost future retirees roughly $700 billion in benefits and would push the exhaustion of trust funds that is, forward by a year to 2033. And supporters of the legislation claim that the rules unfairly reduce Social Security benefits for those who have devoted much of their careers to public services. And now Senate Democrat Kirsten Sinema of Arizona has a message for her Democratic colleagues who fear she might move the goalposts of their economic agenda. Sinema emphasized again that she was opposed to raising taxes on large corporations, saying that she wouldn't back any tax policies that would put a brake on any type of economic growth or forestall business and personal growth for American industries. Sinema also said, "You all know the entire country knows that I'm opposed to raising the corporate minimum tax rate." A Sinema spokesperson clarified she was referring to tax rates on corporations, and not backtracking from her past support of a 15% corporate minimum tax. Folks, tell me in the comments down below, do you think that President Biden is going to send out the fourth stimulus check this year, or do you think he will hold it back? Tell me what you think in the comments. Now, Sinema's comments comes days after she expressed fresh openness towards a smaller spending package. It also seems to be an effort to put some distance between her and Joe Manchin of West Virginia, another Democratic holdout. The Democratic Party cannot pass the bill in the 50-50 Senate without their 2 votes against unified Republican opposition. Joe Manchin's top priorities for any new piece of legislation include reining in prescription costs, slashing the federal deficit, and raising taxes on America's richest people. Now, the Arizona Democrats set herself apart in the fall by keeping her cards close in negotiations and not publicly staking out her positions. But this has caused plenty of headaches for congressional Democrats, trying to figure out what she was willing to vote for. According to CNN, with more than just 200 days left until the 2022 election, now, the first 2 stimulus checks have come and gone, but the third economic impact payment worth up to $1,400 per person is still up for grabs, even if you haven't received it yet. Most of the payments authorized by the American Rescue Plan in March 2021 have already been delivered to eligible recipients via direct deposit or mail checks as of January 2022. But if you haven't received yours or qualified for additional money, your last chance to get these funds is through a 2021 tax return, which is due April 18th for most people. And technically, the third stimulus check was in advance on the 2021 Recovery Rebate Credit.
Havoc over 11 counties in our state, from the southern tier all the way up to the north country in the last 24 hours. And I want to thank our leadership team here as well. I want to thank our county executive, Jason Gardner, who has been through many storms before, and COVID and a lot of other disasters. We've had to work closely together. I want to thank him and his team for all they do here, as well as recognizing my team, which is headed up by our Commissioner of Emergency Services, Jackie Bray, who's very experienced in dealing with storms. We went through a lot of storms this winter, as well as our Commissioner of DOT, Marie Dominguez, and are very delighted to be joined by our Assembly member, who's always hands-on on the ground, John Lepardo, and our Supervisor of the Town of Dickinson, Michael Marinaccio. So thank you all for joining us here today. I do want to acknowledge that this was a very serious event, as I said, resulting in a dramatic amount of families, homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, at least temporarily displaced, and dealing with the lack of power. And this is a very frightening specter, especially think about families with their children. The power goes out in the middle of the night. It's a storm that basically rolled in around 8 p.m. yesterday. Snow pretty much tapered off by mid-morning, 8 or 9 a.m. But in the meantime, because of the weight of the snow, the tree limbs couldn't withstand the weight of that, and countless tree limbs came down, literally bringing down the power lines with them. Most of that event occurred between 4 a.m. and 9 a.m., so people woke up in darkness, the alarms didn't go off, and realized that they were in for perhaps a long haul without having their critical power. Now, we had anticipated this storm, and we had crews on the ground I want to thank the DOT again for being so hands-on and so ready to deal with this. They always do. And also the fact that NISIC, I mean, you think about on a given day here in Broome County, there are about 40 individuals who are part of a team they call it the Blue Skies team. I believe there's over 700 right now in the region, 400 in this county alone, who are focused 100% on restoring people's power. And that is going to happen in various degrees. Right now we had about 350,000 homes without power throughout the event. About 200,000 have been restored. That is very good news. But here in the southern tier, there's still a lag time because of the severity of all the tree limbs coming down here, hitting harder here than.
A question on this move to restart the sale of leases for drilling on public lands. How long do you think it will take for these new leases to actually start producing, and what impact do you think this may have on gas prices?
Well, let me first say that today's action, as you know, but for everybody, was the result of a court injunction that we continue to appeal, and it's not in line with the president's policy, which was to ban additional leasing, because one, we need to move towards a more clean energy economy, which he strongly believes in, but also because there are 9,000 permits unused on lands that could be tapped into by oil companies, and we don't feel they are needed. In terms of how long it will take to get up drilling because of the court action, I don't have any assessment on that from here. I would just note that we are going to continue to fight this court injunction that is forcing our hand in allowing this to proceed, even as we have taken actions to reduce by 80% the areas to lease and impose stringent environmental standards.
The president has promised to slash greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. Now you're having to expand production of fossil fuels when you promised to curtail them. Congress, as we know, has yet to act on many of your climate proposals. Is the president's ambitious climate change goal and agenda still attainable, or are these new leases going to undercut that pledge?
Well, again, these leases are not in line with our policy or the president's view.
But if you're, policy or not, I mean, this is the situation that you're in.
It is, and we're going to continue. There's obviously we're going to continue.
Sorry, I think if you look at our maybe the closest economies and political systems would be the countries of Western Europe and Canada. Advanced economy countries like that, they're all having the highest inflation they've had in a very long time. Places like Germany, which is famously, inflation averse.
So monthly stimulus payments may be automatically deposited for you. Lawmakers across the nation have officially set up new relief programs. The more stimulus money you can receive right now would greatly help so many people, so I believe President Biden should actually get the job done and send out stimulus checks as soon as possible. Now, the nearly $1 trillion in federal relief sent to U.S. households through 3 stimulus checks is credited with reducing poverty and helping millions of families weather the crisis. But with the crisis still affecting millions of people in the nation, many lawmakers are deciding to take action on this.